Willow trees are really common, and the genus Salix is present all around the temperate part of the northern hemisphere, stretching as far south as North Africa and the Middle East. It's a very diverse group of plants, but the ones that are native to this area are always these little shrubby kind of little stocky little trees that you get growing along like river banks and in damp places, in reforesting areas, and lingering as under canopy in forests for quite a while as well. There's quite a diversity of them. We get some that have got sort of white round leaves like hazel trees, and they're like sallows, but you've got other ones with kind of purplish leaves called purple willow. There's a goat willow. There's a huge variety in kind of leaf shapes, going from very thin and narrow to kind of to just plain round, and all different types of textures. A really diverse group of trees, and they all take from cuttings really easily. If you're going to get down here, or you're going to come up the tree. The rivers are very low at the moment. Normally this river would be really full at this time of year, but it's wade acrossable in. Normally this whole thing is like mostly full at this time of year. We've got now two cats that come up here, but you can see willow trees naturally fall over and sort of root into the ground. So one clump of willows like this one here sends out branches in different directions. As they get heavy and in the wet mud, they fall over and root in. So they naturally grow by sort of layering themselves. So they are very good at kind of rooting in. And any of these branches that that touches the ground will just root in. They're just better at doing it than almost any other tree I know. And very often you can sort of get across a river onto like a tree that's already rooted in, so like two trees that are connected with a connecting branch. They're like really good at kind of spreading themselves by doing this. So it's a brilliant way to propagate them. So that's what I'm going to do today, is get a load of willow cuttings and show you the most effective way to do them and the best places to plant them. Right, so now we get some willow cuttings. There are loads of different types of willow trees from different parts of the world which are grown ornamentally. Sometimes you get sort of rows of them in parks and things, and often they look like this, much more upright and straight and tall. Or they have very big catkins like the American pussy willows. Just make sure that if you're going to plant willow trees to be wild woods, you want to get the right sorts, but there's these little stocky ones that you want. Like these ones here, they're always a very sort of untidy looking tree. They seldom get higher than sort of 25-30 feet, and you sort of get them really plentifully anywhere a bit damp. Although they do kind of seed themselves all over the place. They're very good at seeding themselves on kind of bare ground. But where I've cut some branches back a few years ago, because there were loads of branches all falling down over here, they've grown up with these very tall, straight bits, and these are ideal for taking as cuttings. And if I can work out how to open that, oh yeah. So what I'd like to do is to cut them to like 3 foot long poles, 1 meter long, 3 feet long, and like nice and straight. So just like this. And then I measure it with by myself, because I'm 6 foot, so half of me is 3 foot. So I want them to be that tall, and sometimes you can get 2 of them, but I like them to be quite thick, because then you get lots of vigorous growth. So I'll have a secateurs and just cut it to there, to 3 feet tall. And if you look at any little side branches, they all come out sort of pointing sort of upwards, and any little buds, if you look there, pointing upwards, so that tells you which way up it is. Also the bottom is slightly wider than the top, so you want to keep them all the right way up, because you don't want to plant them upside down. So I'm going to put them like that, so the bottom bit's next to me, and then just cut a load of them like that, and then do the same, just measure them both against me. Whoa. Like that. So that's right up to there. Any little side shoots that are of any significant size, are just to trim them back as well. because you want to put all that energy into this new crown of branches which will come up from here. So 1 foot will be under the ground, and then these 2 feet will be a nice strong branch that's strong enough so that grasses and swamp plants will not sort of fall over and knock it over. It'll be able to stick up above them. Plus it's thick enough to put on lots of vigorous growth, which will grow up. You know, good 3 feet of growth it should grow in next year. So they're very quick growing trees, willow trees. I'll do this really big fat one because they do really well, you know. Doesn't matter how big they are. Some people say if you just lay a log of willow down in a swamp it will grow, but I haven't actually tried that myself. So that one's even bigger. So I can get a couple out of that one. So there, whoa, like that. That's one. And then this one, so that one's got a lot of side shoots which I don't really want. So, whoa, I'm going to take it to about that high, like that. And then with my secateurs, I'm going to just take these little side shoots to outward facing buds, just make them really, really short. Not cut them off completely, just like that. And even this one's at the top, just give them a little bit longer, like that, like that. Ow, and chuck them over there somewhere. And then this big fat one here, I don't really want those side shoots, but I'll leave a bit of them, like that. And then already 5 cuttings, and they fit together really nice and easily. That's really convenient just to carry them in a bag, and they're all the right way up. So I'll get a few more of them before we go and plant them. It doesn't matter if they're a little bit longer, just balance that one, because they'll still grow. Some of the thicker ones I'll leave just a little bit longer. The idea of having them so tall is that when I plant them in the swamp and the summer vegetation gets about so tall, they need to be able to get some light. If they're really, really small, this new growth is very flimsy. As the swamp plants in the summer grow and die, they'll fall down and drag these flimsy branches down. But these big, strong branches will hold. And these new growth, the new growth that comes out of here, should be high enough to be able to get light long before these swamp plants grow. So they should be like, they should be in the light. They should be not competing with things. I was going to trim that off there. Trim those ones further back because they're further down. Chuck that one in my pile. And see those two. Just the thinner they are, the less vigorous growth they're going to put out. The sort of bigger and more cut back they are, the more sort of the energy they've got stored up in that trunk. So I would expect these ones to grow an awful lot more, although you can carry less of them in a pile. So the thicker they are, the less you can carry, but the quicker they'll grow. So a bit of a mixture. I don't usually do them much thicker than that, and that's about the thinnest I like to go. They're a bit more temperamental, so kind of ideally really something like that sort of thickness, but any of these should be fine. So it's kind of like a mixture there. Before we go and plant these willow cuttings, I do want to say that the willow cuttings are ideal in just the perfect environment for them, which is seasonal bog. Areas which are saturated for part of the year, but they sort of dry out in the summer usually. These areas, riverbanks, a place where they get the best of both worlds, wet and dry. The cuttings seem to take in these areas. If it's like a normal area, like a kind of garden or a field or something, they wouldn't really take very well from cuttings because they dry out unless they're watered a lot, and then they'll put down a taproot. In really, really saturated bogs, they don't seem to do well either. They do seem to do splendidly just around the edge of bogs. But if you want to plant trees in the bogs or in the drier areas, you need to find some that are seeded themselves, like these ones, and they'll take anywhere. And there's little ones anywhere where there's like exposed ground, basically. Anywhere where there's exposed ground, they just seed really easily. And here there's silver birch as well. There's a willow there, a younger willow here. And these are too small really. This is sort of better, these have been here longer and I need to dig them up with a spade, but I'm only doing cuttings today. This is a kind of medium sized one. This was probably big enough to plant in a swamp, and they sort of, if I could just unhook the brambles from around them, it should just show you how easily they come up. So just get a hand round it like that, and you see it comes up really easily like that. Nice big root ball, and you can see that it's just grown purely into exposed subsoil. If you look at that, that's just pure subsoil. It's growing happily in that. Willows get a lot of their nutrients from the air, and that would grow really well in a swamp, even somewhere drier, and it's very good at putting down a taproot to the water. If they're growing in a dry area, they don't fall over. Only if they're growing in a wet area they do that. And you can chew willow bark to get rid of headaches. It's very good to plant these cuttings on the same day as you pick them, if possible, certainly or the next day. If you're not doing them on the same day, just cover them over with some wet grass or some leaves or something, or just have the lower ends in water. But if you have them in water for more than a week, they'll all have little roots growing out of them, and then when you plant them as cuttings, the roots would get damaged, so you really want to plant them kind of straight away. So carry them off like that. If you've got a load of them, you can just put them in a bag, make sure they're all the right way up, and then this one here is coming out of saturated ground, just carry that. But I could put them in a bag as well if I had more of them, so just carry them off like that, and then it's really sort of convenient and easy. And then I've got like my secateurs, just in case I find any other willow trees I could take cuttings off on the way, and I'm all kind of sorted for tree planting. These willows here were all ones like this with roots on that I planted, I don't know how long ago, 6, 7 years, I'm really not sure, I can't remember. But you can see how they've sort of grown and they're doing well here. But these were all there, ones with roots just literally squished into the, you see how squishy the ground is. And if I wanted to plant that, I wouldn't need a spade. I could just squash it into the ground, and that's like too wet for cuttings. So I'm going to find another place to put all these. In there it's too wet to plant cuttings, and then this area here, which is like on the edge of the bob, which is just slightly squishy, this is perfect for cuttings. And then as I get further away, then it becomes more the terrain of these again. So it's just this like intermediate zone that cuttings do really well on. This sort of ground is ideal. Down until it gets really squishy down there. So just put this rooted one aside, and there's a willow tree growing here, so I don't need to put one there. So right way up, 1 foot in the ground, so I wanted to come into the ground to about there, so a little bit more. They're a bit hard, just pull them out in again. They're going a bit further, and that's one there, and then these ones, I think, a bit further down here, perhaps one here. Here the vegetation gets quite tall, you can see here, so they need to be quite big to compete, but this is high enough. They'll get enough sunlight here. By the time this new vegetation comes up next year, the willow trees will put on quite a bit of growth. So yeah, that way up, always make sure they're the right way up, nice and straight, and that is just in one go there. Lovely. That's another tree there. Because they're quite fat and big already, they're already quite big trees. Always that way up, that one could go here. There's another one there. Right. I'll just put these a bit further over here. All these trees are mostly willow trees, and all the willow trees here were done from cuttings because it's like this intermediate area which is like seasonal bog. And you can sort of see where I had the straight bit and where it's grown out on each one. You can see that was the cutting, and it's grown out the side shoots here. This was probably the cutting, I don't know, this straight bit here. All of these just were cuttings, just done exactly like we're doing these ones today. It is amazing how much you can get done in one day of doing this. This is a really, really fat one. A bit more. There, that's perfect. There's a lovely, really strong thing already there. That one can go over here. Probably do them about 3 to 5 feet apart and put them in little clumps and little groups. Put another one here, right way up, I think, yep. So that would go there, a bit more straight. So that's a nice little group of 3 of them there. And then we come over here a bit and put another one here. So we've done it all to be a massive sudden change, just have it sort of changing in patches. So that's a nice one there. And I think maybe one here, like that. And maybe one here, like that. It's good to have the 2 feet above, so they've got a nice strong bit there. One here. It's really soft, the ground, so they just push in really, really easily. And perhaps one just here. That's a nice one. Maybe one just here. And this last one here. So now I'll find where I put this other one out here, and then I'll just show you how to plant one of these in saturated ground. The ground is really squishy, look at that. If it's a bit more squishy than this, you can actually just like kind of just put them there, or you can just put them like that and just squish them in like that, see? Really easy. And all saturated ground, all the year round it's saturated. So just squish it around, looks nice and straight, and just pull some of this mud over it, or you could do it with your feet, and that's fine. Sometimes I just put some of these rushes like tangled round it, give it a bit of protection from like deer and stuff like that, and also hides that a tree's been planted. So planting trees and swamps is really easy. It's really alders, willows and hazels. Not much else does really well in a swamp, right in a swamp, but it's nice to get them started here, and gradually we're sort of doing this whole swamp here, just in like patches every few years, just do a few patches, and then you can see some I did earlier there, and some alder trees. So it's like a gradual process, but it's very effective. If you look through all there, you can see loads of little clumps of trees establishing. Whoa! So I do hope you liked today's video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please do ask. I love answering questions. And if you press the bell icon, you can be notified of any videos I make. And until next time, I shall see you next time.